Okay, is my screen visible to all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm explaining you a topic security in mobile computing from unit 4. This is the chapter 20 of your book Ashoke Telurkar. Okay. Now, what is information security? So in any defense system, we need to know our enemy. To build an information security system, we need to answer the following questions. The first one is, who is our enemy? What are the weak links in the system? What needs a special protection? To protect our asset from attack, we need to build a security system. How much does the security system cost in terms of money, resource, and time? So in we can say in real life in defense, we are aware these are the people who are our enemies and we can stop them to attack. But in information security, in computer system, we need to know who are the attackers and which type of attacks are there. So uh, because of something, we are going to get the loss of assets. So loss can be either on static assets or on dynamic assets. If we look in an information system, static asset cover a large portion of database, all the database files, some documents, a folder, computer, network, everything falls in this static asset categories. An example of static asset are virus, which are deleting our files in a computer or jamming our network. An example of an attack, a dynamic asset, is a thief of a credit card number while a user is doing credit card transaction on a web. Dynamic can be online whenever you are purchasing something through your credit card or paying some money or transferring some money and it is going to hack your credit card number. Then this kind of attack can be a dynamic attack. Static attack can be any virus which has come to your system and generating replicas. Because of that, you can get your files get corrupted, database got corrupted, some of the documents are going to get corrupted because it is creating replicas and taking all the space, using all the space of your system. So this kind of attack can be a static attack. Static attacks can be done by virus, worm, and denial of service. There are type of program that replicates and propagates from one system to another doing the malicious function of the system. Okay. So what virus and worms can do, whenever I'll download something from the mail, through that mail that virus come. Sometimes somebody send me some advertisement message and then I'll try to open that particular message through that message. Sometimes you are using your pen drive from one PC to another PC. So that virus is going to replicate or copy from one system to another system and making many copies or many replicas of itself to take most of the storage space of your system. So it can jam your system, it can jam your network. Now the next is denial of services. These are the attack on the system to prevent valid user from using the service, make servers or service temporarily unavailable. So some of the services it makes temporarily unavailable. You are not able to use kind of service. Now intrusion attacks. These are the people or the software which enter into the computer system and perform function without knowledge of the owner of the asset. So it can enter into the system or software or it can perform some kind of function which is not known to the authorized person. Replay attack. In replay attack, the opportunity or the opponent passively capture the data without trying to analyze the content. At a later time, the same is used in the sequence to copy an event and gain the unauthorized access to the resources. For example, it is going to record our speech whenever we are speaking something. It is going to do some attack remotely. So these are the, we can say, replay attack. Now attacks on static asset continue. Buffer overflow attack. So what are the buffer? Buffer, we know that the buffers are the temporary storage space. The weakness of an executable program is broken to force a stack overflow condition, including the program counter of the process to change. The program counter is then manipulated to do the network, to do the work for the attacker. For example, username and password limit is good coding. 30 character is a limit, 36 is also proceed, and the remaining digit will also proceed to execute that the virus hack the database files. For example, it is going to take most of the storage space and it will shows that the storage space is not available even though it is available. So this kind of attack is called buffer overflow attack. Buffer are the memory storage region that is going to hold your data temporarily. Whenever you are transferring one file from the another file, you are putting your file into the one location to another pole location, you need a buffer, and you can store your data temporarily into that particular buffer. The volume of buffer data exceeds the storage capacity of the memory buffer. As a result, the program attempting to write the data to the buffer overrides the adjacent memory locations. For example, a buffer for login credential may be designed to expect username and password input for 8 bytes. So if a transaction involves an input of 10 bytes, that is 2 bytes more than expected, the program may write the excess data passed into the buffer boundary. Buffer overflows can affect all types of software. They typically result from malformed input or failure to allocate the enough space for a buffer. If a transaction overwrites executable code, it can causes the program to behave unpredictably and generate the incorrect result, memory access error, or crashes. Even though there is a space, the buffer overflow attack will show that there is no enough space. And suppose we want to write down the something which is of 10 bytes, but it shows that it is overflow. We don't have enough space, and it will take almost our buffer space and generate the unpredictable or incorrect results, crashes, errors. So this is the buffer. And what is the buffer overflow attack? Attacker exploit the buffer overflow issue by overwriting the memory of an application. This changes the execution path of the program, triggering a response that damages the file or exposes the private information. For example, an attacker may introduce extra code, sending new instructions to the application to gain access to the IT system. If attacker know the memory layout of the program, they can intentionally feed the input that the buffer cannot store and override areas that hold the executable code, replacing it with their own code. For example, an attacker can overwrite a pointer, an object that points to the another area into memory, and point it to an exploit payload to gain the control over a program. So what attacker can do, it will fill the memory area or the buffer area by its own code and replace our code through that own code and show that buffer is the overflow and you are not able to write down any more data or store many more data, which is going to create a loss error. The next is trapdoor attacks. These are the trapdoors. Generally, we can say that back doors. It doesn't look like exactly a door, but they are the doors, hidden doors through which you can go outside and come from the outside. So these are the exploitation of some of undocumented features of a system. Undocumented functionality are designed to debug, service, support, or take control of the system. A trapdoor is a secret entry point into a program that allows someone that is aware of the trapdoor to gain access without going through the usual security access procedure. Trapdoors become threats when they are used by the dishonest programmer to gain the unauthorized access. The programmer can write something in a code which can be used as a trapdoor without knowing the user ID and password. Anyone can enter into your system. Unauthorized person can bypass the user ID and password and use your program. The next is attacks on dynamic assets. I told you that runtime, whenever you are using credit card, somebody will hack your credit card number and use it. So this kind of attacks are known as a dynamic attacks. So first one is interception. An unauthorized party gaining access to an asset will be a part of this attack. This is an attack on confidentiality, like unauthorized copying of file or tapping on conversation between the parties. Some of the sniffing attack fall into this category. It means it is going to unauthorized copying your file. Some of the conversion it is going to trap or record. Now the modification, it means it is going to modify your code. Suppose somebody is transferring, I can say 100 rupees in my account. So in between, that particular person will enter and it change that transferring 1,000 rupees into his or her account. So this kind of thing is known as a modification. So an unauthorized party gaining control of an asset and tampering with its part of this attack This is an attack on integrity, like changing the content of the message being transmitted through the network. Different type of man in the middle attacks are the part of this attack. I told you that man in the middle person will going to change the value. Now fabrication. An unauthorized party insert copied object into the system. For example, interposing someone and inserting a fake message into the network. Somebody is inserting fake message into the network. Interruption. An asset is destroyed or made unusable. This is an attack on availability. The attack can be on static asset or on a dynamic asset. For example, it could be cutting a communication line or making the router so busy that the user cannot use a server in a network. These all are the denial of service attacks. So interrupter, what it can do? It can do the attack on available data. Either it can jam our network, or it can make the router so busy so users cannot use any kind of services from the server. So it is going to get, we can say, this kind of attacks are denial of service attacks. You are not able to get some services. So you can see here, these are the normal flow. You will get the information from source to destination. This is the interception. So from source to destination, it is going to intercept something, add something, edit something. And this is called modification. Means whatever message, whatever information coming through the source, that same information is not going to reach to the destination. That information is going to modify in between. Then it is going to reach to that particular destination. And fabrication, it is going to generate the fake messages and send to the destination. So these are the, I can say, some of the attacks on dynamic assets. Now, components of information security. The first one is confidentiality, second one is integrity, third one is availability, fourth one is non-repudiation, fifth one is authorization, sixth one is trust, and the seventh one is accounting. Confidentiality means privacy. Is a property where the information is kept secret so that unauthorized person cannot get the information. These are the components of information security. The first one is privacy. Suppose I want to save some data, then I have to keep it private. For example, confidential. For example, I have some jewelry and I want to make it safe so nobody can take it. So in that case, I'll either keep it into the locker or in a cupboard or rack where so nobody can access it. I'll keep that keys with me. So these are the one thing. Second thing is integrity. Integrity is certain kind of rules and regulations that can be, we can say, you can put on the particular assets. Authorization, it deals with the privileges. Authority means suppose I have kept my jewelry into the locker, then that bank has given me some key, some password. So some, we can say, authority. You are having some username and password to access that particular software or the data. So these are the, we can say, authorization. Availability means media management is not within the scope of security protocol and algorithms. Media management is needed to ensure the availability of the services. So as in when you need, you will get that service available. So that is also a part of security. Trust. Trust involved developing a security trust-based security management is necessary. Trust involved developing a security policy, assigning credentials, identity card to entities, verifying that the credential fulfill the policies. So suppose I'm driving the car and somebody asks me that you have to show your license, and if I'll show that license to that particular traffic police or somebody else, then this is one kind of, we can say, my identity card that I'm the person who can drive this car. I'm having that particular authorization for driving the car. So this is called trust. Accounting is the process by which the users of the services is metered based upon the users. The service provider collect the fees directly from the customer or through the home network. Means for using something I have to pay some money. If you are calling somebody, if you are using internet, then you have to pay some amount of fees. So you will have that account, you will have that access, you can use that services by paying that particular fees or money. Now, security techniques and algorithms. Generally, the encryption algorithm are divided into two groups: symmetric encryption and public key encryption. Now, symmetric means similar. Its another name is similar. So, in a symmetric key cryptography, the same key is used for the both encryption and decryption. It is just like a lock where we can use same key to lock our door and unlock our door, right? So, whatever lock in with your home door, which is having only single type of key, that is going to use for locking the door as well as unlocking the door. So in this type of encryption, the key is a secret and known only the encryption sender and the decryption receiver parties. Therefore, it is also known as a secret key algorithm. Some authors refers to a secret key cryptography as shared key because the same key is shared between the sender and receiver. So whatever key sender is having, that same key is receiver is also having. It is known to both the parties. That's why it is known as a shared key or secret key. So whenever I want to protect some data, whenever I want that nobody will use my clothes, nobody will use my any of the things. So what I can do, I'll lock my room. As in when I need to use, I unlock the room. And if if I want to give key to somebody, for example, there is family members of my house, for my husband, for my son, suppose I want to give them a key. This is the key of our room. You can use it. So these are known to them also. In symmetric cryptography, there are four components: plain text, encryption decryption algorithm, secret key encryption decryption algorithm, and ciphertext. So there are most popular symmetric key algorithm. You cannot use directly. There are certain ways, certain methods or algorithm through which you can apply these keys. The first one is data encryption standard. This algorithm is most widely used research and has a longest life so far. 3DES, this is modification or the modified version of data encryption standard. In this algorithm, DES used 3 times in succession. Now, advanced encryption standard, this is the current acceptable standard for the encryption by Federal Information Processing Standard of USA. Skipjack, this is a token-based algorithm used by the defense persons in US. Public key cryptography. In a symmetric key encryption, we use same key for both the encryption and decryption. In public key cryptography, we use different keys. One key for the encryption and the different keys for the decryption. There are 2 different keys used. This is called asymmetric key cryptography. Public key crypto system is based on the mathematical function rather than permutation and substitution. So we can say asymmetric key, the keys are not similar like symmetric keys. The keys are different for encryption as well as for decryption. There are 6 components: plain text, ciphertext, encryption algorithm, decryption algorithm, public key, and private key. So in public key cryptography, there are plain text. This is the human readable message or a data given to the public key algorithm as an input for the encryption. Encryption and decryption means whatever we are sending some message, that messages we can say converted into particular text that is not readable by anybody until it will reach to the proper receiver. So it is going to convert or encrypt our message into particular format, right? So plain text are the human readable messages that we are giving for the public key for the encryption. Now ciphertext, this is the unique data and depends only on the unique key used for the encryption. Encryption algorithm, these are the algorithm that does various kind of transformation on input plain text. Decryption, these are the algorithm that is going to do the reverse function. Encryption algorithm will encrypt our text so nobody can read in between. while decryption algorithm are doing reverse thing. It is going to convert our encrypted text into the readable format or plain text. Public key, this is one of the key from the key pair. This key is made public, or anybody to access. This key is either used for the encryption or decryption. Private key is known to the who is using that particular thing. It is secret. That is not known to everybody publicly. While public key is known to everybody, anybody can use it. Now CR is present, he or she.